Welcome, Strike Axe Rosie. Welcome to Core 4.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Man, I'm glad you're here. Serving you up a Black is Beautiful today. Black is Beautiful is an Imperial Stout. It's 8.5% ABV. We brewed this beer in collaboration to raise awareness for the injustices people of color face daily. This beer we brewed in collaboration with Weathered Souls Brewing and over 1,100 other breweries in all 50 states and 21 countries. All the proceeds go to the Urban League of Oklahoma City. And what they do is assist minorities to achieve social and economic equality. And so it's a really good nonprofit organization here locally. And so it's really something that we stand for at Core 4. We do a lot of different nonprofit fundraisers. At least once a month, we do some kind of fundraising effort for a nonprofit locally.
You guys are involved in the community?
Very much so, very much so. And that's something that we really pride ourselves in. So we're really excited about brewing that beer. So guys, I'm glad you guys are here. Introduce yourselves. Let's start over at this end and we'll kind of go down and kind of tell them, what's your name?
H. Vernon, play the drums.
Mike, what do you play? Guitar.
I'm Mandy Brixey.
I'm Jessica Flanagan.
Price Vernon.
Price Vernon, man, so glad. Like I said, Strike Axe Rosie. What a cool name. Tell me how you came up with the name Strike Axe Rosie.
Well, after thinking about it for a while, Strike Axe was the region where our shared grandmother, who is Osage, came from, up near Pawhuska, and her name was Rosa, one of our shared grandmother, and so we decided to go with Rosie because that's her mom, and it's a name that goes back in the family tree.
Name.
No, that's super cool. So you guys are Osage, which is awesome. Tell me a little bit more about yourselves. Like, how did you come into the music? Where did you come from? How did it start?
We're from up north, around Tulsa area, Broken Arrow, actually, to be exact. Grew up in church singing. My aunt was a big influence in me singing, and obviously in her. She's my cousin, so we learned from the best.
And some of the best singers that ever came were.
And she had a recording career too, a little bit, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. She did actually.
Yeah,
even-
she. When
This is your aunt?
This is my mom. My mom. Actually.
Okay, your mom. Your aunt or your mom.
Yeah,
Oh, wow, okay.
we're first cousins, and her dad and my mother are their siblings. So, my mom, when she was 9, had her first record deal. I don't even remember what
Child
record label
star.
that was. Yeah, she's definitely she's one of those. When she was 16, though, she was signed by Decca Records. Ernest Tubbs saw her on the local TV show when he was in Oklahoma and had his frontman call her. She made a flub on TV and covered it really well, so he had his frontman call her and say, hey. And so she went to Nashville and cut a couple records. I think her biggest hit went to, I think, top 5, and it was called Before Charlie Gets Home. And she, had 2 records, decided it wasn't really for her as a career, and she kind of stopped by the time she was 18, and
And earlier
wish
this
I-
year,
Yeah, I think the story was she was on the hayride with Elvis and
right? Yeah.
Like I was gonna say, like some of the best vocalists I've ever known grew up singing in church, so that's really cool. So, would you say like your aunt is maybe someone that really got you into music, or who was somebody that How did you really get into music?
definitely my aunt. She was always the one that encouraged me as a vocalist, as singer, to put your best foot forward. You want to sound good and act act the part too.
She's pretty particular.
She's very particular.
Nice.
She's old school.
somebody should have told some of those new singers today that that you're supposed to sound good.
Right?
Instead of just look good?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Auto-tune.
So when you first got into music, and obviously your aunt was one of those reasons, like who was the first person outside of the family that really inspired you? Like what famous musicians did you really admire?
I love Winona Judd. I love the Judds, but Winona, she has more of a bluesy feel, and that's kind of what I like blues. I like Bonnie Raitt. I love Aretha Franklin. So I have a wide variety of stuff. My parents really turned me on to a lot of different types of music. It wasn't just, blues, or wasn't just rock and roll. It was it wasn't country. Mom sang country, so it wasn't just country. It was everything. My parents are music lovers.
A little bit of country, a little bit of rock and roll,
yes,
right? That's how everybody grew up around here.
Yeah.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about your guys' creative process. Like, what is that like? What do you go through when you're writing and creating? Tell me a little bit about that.
I know recently, when we haven't been together that long as a group. This has been something that's kind of organically come about in the last several months. And so, some of us might have had ideas. I personally had some ideas for like lyrically, and I might have heard a song a certain way. And then whenever I met these guys, it just kind of organically came about, where she came up to my mom's one weekend and brought them, and we sat down and kind of had a jam session, and they put music to some lyrics of mine that I'd never really heard it that way before. And it was really inspiring just to hear someone else, like my music, but also feel the music and be able to bring life to it where I didn't. I might play the auto harp, but all the instruments I play are by ear. I'm not really that great, don't have that much experience, but these guys are experienced musicians.
They brought it out of you.
So they definitely brought the music out of me, and then I think that,
It wasn't that tough. It was all right there at the surface.
Well, nice.
We had to be like, oh, you mean that kid's done? But what she came to the table with was so pure that it didn't take a lot of work.
Well, I've been listening to these guys play for a really long time, so I'm really looking forward to hearing you play for us this evening.
no pressure.
Hello, we're Strike Axe Rosie here at Core 4 Micro Brewery Sessions. We're doing a little original music called Giving It Up.
Under the past, got what I see, honey, you sitting on
appreciate you having us. I'm excited to be here.
So tell me, how do you guys feel the internet has impacted music today?
I mean, well, I think it's interesting. It's a very interesting question because there's a bunch of answers. In the beginning, I thought it kind of crushed and killed music. Artists weren't really able to even make any living really at all with their music after Napster and all this stuff. But with the live web shows and all this kind of stuff, I think it's created a new marketplace where artists and musicians, artists really of any kind, have more control of how their art is marketed and sold, and they have a more direct avenue of that money that's spent on it to come right back to them. So I think it might be coming back around full circle to where the internet that did crush it in the beginning is coming back around and creating these new marketplaces that actually allow for small musicians like us, less famous people, to make a decent living doing their music.
And so it's kind of helped musicians grow
really
in a kind of a different way that maybe wasn't there
I
before.
also think there are tons of artists I know that I love that I don't think I ever would have heard their music if it wasn't for the internet. So I think that's the good side.
So being in the industry as long as you guys have, tell me something that maybe you would change about the industry. What would that be if there was something?
I'll say pay.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, come on.
$1,000 per second.
I mean, what do they say? You load $700 worth of gear into a $200 car to get paid $50 or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
Or no
Yeah,
bucks.
that's the reverse pyramid
Yeah.
scheme.
Right.
Exactly.
I think sometimes what has been beneficial, and going back to the last question, what has been beneficial about the internet is being able to, like he said, you don't always have to be with an A&R person or a big record label. You can put yourself out there. And for someone like me, I don't drive. I've got visual issues. I've never had a license. So it's a great thing for me to be able to sit down and, sing a song and have people see it that, I can't go to them. They're coming to me. And that's one of the things that I think has been really beneficial about the internet.
I mean, it's kind of an easy math equation. I mean, if you go out and do a show at your local little coffee house or venue, I mean, you can squeeze 60, 100 people in there if it's decent size. But if you open up a web performance, you can put 60,000 people in that web room, from all over the planet, and that's just not, the logistics behind that physically is impossible.
It just opens up another door to access people that you may not have had an
It's
opportunity.
created a whole new marketplace that
Right.
the smart musicians, the ones that understand that, can I think take advantage of and make some decent money and support families with art, and that should how it should have always been.
And stay
Artists
here.
should be valued, and they should be paid for their work. And the last 20 years or so that hasn't been the case. But I think the internet is making it so that might happen again.
And so that it can maybe happen locally,
Yeah,
like
on a
instead
more
of
local
us
basis, sure.
going to
You
LA
don't have
or
to
going
be
to
signed
New
with the
York.
National to be able to
Right.
make enough to pay your rent.
Right.
This one's called Mabel Bassett Blues.
Wake up, get up, bones and cards, but no harmonies around. Wishing for music, but the only sound is 1,000 voices, some jingling keys, teardrops on paper, another chick's dream. I need my baby to stop work from home. Don't cut this line, Jesus, if you free my soul. This is gray shoes, walking on playground. I've been eating grapefruit with milk to wash it down. Waking up before sunrise, see the new way. Got to keep dreaming in color while I'm living in this grave. His daddy's mama with no family. Can't get no love in here with no canteen. Concrete and metal, I just can't get one. Somebody hold me, wrap me in your arms. I just need sunlight, my little space. I'm pushing Got to keep dreaming in color while I'm living in disgrace.
Gray skies, gray clouds, these storm clouds hanging around. Ain't seen no color in days. Some of the blues I've got now. Need a break from this rain. God send the rainbow my way.
It's time for mail call. Please God call my name. Just send me pictures from my kids, I pray.
Let me see colors, not brown, white, and black.
Paint pretty pictures, sweet words on the back.
Tell me the world is still turning, please.
That someone still loving and ain't forgot about me. Gray faces, gray shoes, walking on gray ground. How many grapefruit we milk to wash it down?
Waking up before sunrise.
To sleep the day away. Got to keep dreaming in color while I'm living in disgrace.
While I'm living this grave, I need some color today
To take me away from this place. God send the rainbow my way.
God send the rainbow my way.
God send the rainbow my way.
Well, all the songs that you guys played over time and since you've been together and the songs you've learned as the new group, what's your favorite song to perform?
It'll be 5 different answers probably.
I know, right?
What's your favorite?
We can start and run the whole
Yeah,
gamut.
run down the line.
You know,
What's your favorite?
honestly, since we've come together as a group, I have been really turned on to some Tom Waits music, and I really, really, really like Chocolate Jesus. That's something that
How can you not like that?
I know. I love Chocolate Jesus. I love Way Down in the Hole. I just, you know.
One of my favorite ones
That's two
that
of
we
my
do
favorites.
is she sings Heartbreak Hotel. So we do some Elvis. I love that. That's one of the ones.
I do like Elvis.
You gotta-
My favorite personally is her song Mabel Bassett Blues. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mabel Bassett
oh,
Blues.
thanks.
It's in its in its construction. It's just ridiculously simple, but that allows it to be intricate in kind of nuance, and it's a really original kind of rhythm and blues soul song, and that tickles my fancy. That one.
As a lead guitar player, like this is your time to shine. Like what song is it that you guys do?
Eruption.
Some of the originals. A morphine song, and I never thought I'd get to play a morphine song in a band. So.
Because there's not a guitar in Morphine.
But, I also like changing songs, making them adaptable to acoustic, changing the keys and just making it reinventing the song a little bit. And I like people to hear it and go, what song is that? And then they realize you're doing something they've heard totally differently.
This is something to feel.
Looking and searching the whole wide, something unfamiliar to begin. Begging and praying for some more time, just to find a similar end. Up close and personal, this is what you're waiting for. Understand what is real. When will you realize unturned, pages unturned. Now they all belong to burn. Up close and personal, this is what you waited for. Understand what is real. When we realize miracles that materialize, that you is something to feel, something to feel.
Something to feel, something to feel, something to
So of all the types of venues that you guys have played forever, what are some of your favorites and least favorite like types of venues to play?
I like to play outdoors. I like to play like open spaces, the patio. Just it's got a nice, good feel. You know, people kind of just sitting around and having a beer and enjoying themselves and some music. You know, kind of like here.
I mean, I think really, I like the one that people's at. You know, it could be a bar, could be a library, could be a garage, could be a bird's nest, treehouse. You know, if there's people there, that's my favorite place to play.
I will say the acoustics in here are amazing.
We love it.
Even I sound halfway good in this.
Love it.
Well, speaking of favorite places to play, do you guys have any upcoming shows? What's coming up?
Well, we're going to be doing, we're in the efforting right now for a Halloween live webcast that we'll be doing. And I think we have October. I know we have November 20th.
November 20th.
The Silver Stallion out in Mustang.
Nice.
Birthday party.
All right.
And then
City of Peace.
there was one
We have a
October 6th or
I
something.
think one coming up in December. You caught me off guard.
That's a better
know,
question.
right? We should have known
That's a
that.
better question for our booking agent.
Yeah, right.
All right. I'll reach out to your people, and I'll have your people contact my people.
If they tell me a day before, I'll forget the next day. As needed to know basis.
So one of my favorite things to ask all musicians that come through and play and that I sit down and have conversations with, one of my favorite things to ask is like, what is the best advice that you've ever been given? Not only musically, but in life.
Okay, that's two different answers. Did you want the life one?
I mean, just whichever one you feel would,
They're really easy. In music, it's, you know, when you're doing a show for people, you play the same if it's 10 or 10,000. That was a quote that stuck with me. 10 or 10,000, doesn't matter, you give it your all. In life, it's that everything in life is a transaction. So if you get something, you got to give something up for it. If you give something up, you're going to get something back for it. May not be today, maybe 10, 20 years from now, but there will be a transaction that takes place. That has been the wisest thing anyone's ever said to me.
I like that.
I think that's pretty in line with what I was going to say. This is, you know,
I stole your line?
yeah, whatever you put into something is what you're going to get out. So, and that's in every single thing that you ever do. So, that's
And that's true in
You
music too.
appreciate every day because all we really have is the now. And you have to have experience.
You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring.
What's
You
it?
have to have a drink,
History
talk to
and a
friends,
mystery.
hang out with
The
them.
present. What's the saying?
Play
Right.
some music. I think that's, as long as I'm playing music, I'm not wasting my time.
right.
That's what I'm here to do.
Same.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like wasting time, that's for sure.
It's
Yeah.
always
And now kind of stepping off of that and moving to the next segment, like if your fans, the people who listen to you, who kind of admire you, who look up to you, what kind of advice would you give them now in life or in music as well?
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just keep focused on, you know, what's really important. Because there's so much stuff that can clutter up and, you know, cloud and put static in your vision. you got to really just stay focused on, you know, love, family, the really fundamental things, because you lose focus and then you try to catch back up, it's gone.
Happiness is the way and not the goal. So you have to choose. You have to find something to be happy about every day. Find something. And sometimes it's just music. Sometimes that's all that they're,
That
you know,
one works
that's
every
what
time,
it
for
is.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
That's for
It
sure.
works every time. It's like Novocaine, just give it about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, let's roll this back to Strike Axe. Rosie,
Okay.
what's next for you guys? I know you've been recording, right, with Steve Bose up at Breathing Rhythm Studios. So kind of tell me a little bit about that. What's next for Strike Axe?
Earlier, she talked about how my aunt had recorded with Decca Records, and she recorded Before Charlie Gets Home. Well, this year was 50 years. It was 50 years ago this year that she had recorded that. So when we went into the studio in January, she was with us. So she got to record the same song
50 years later.
50 years later.
Oh wow!
So-
and you guys are going to put that out with her.
Yes.
Oh wow! How amazing!
So we recorded two of Bill Anderson songs, and then we recorded 2 originals, 2 Jessica songs,
Did some Tom Waits.
and
right?
then we
Yeah.
did some Tom Waits, and then I did another song. So
Oh, beautiful.
So that'll all be coming out over the next, you know, last
Couple
part of this year, first
yeah.
part of next year. All those songs will be available periodically throughout
we're working on
the
it.
months.
Well, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for coming out to Core 4 today. Thank you so much for playing for us today.
Thank you for delicious freaking beer.
Come on, bring it in.
Yes,
I appreciate
it's
it.
lovely.
Bring it in, guys.
Best in the city. Best in the
Yeah,
state.
yeah.
Cheers. Thank you guys very much for being
Thank
here
you.
today.